a little bit this morning. It's been very broad, and a lot of times it hasn't been tight enough to like convince us that it could make it down to the surface. We do have a new tornado warning. This one just issued. It goes until 9:30. It's kind of on the Webster and Oxford line. And this one's showing a little bit tighter rotation, a little bit stronger rotation to give us a little bit more confidence that there could be something that makes it down toward the ground level. So there's Oxford. The rotation that we're concerned about is this area where the reds and the greens, they match up. So what happens is the radar, while it's a great tool to show us where the heavy rain is and where, it's thundering and it's lightning, it can also show us which way the air is moving inside the thunderstorm. And what it does is it looks at the two colors here. So the green is pulling toward the radar is in Taunton, and the red is pulling back toward the radar. And like I said, we've been seeing this kind of on and off very weak through much of the morning, but once we get these brighter colors, that indicates some stronger wind. So what happens is when that couplet tightens up, it gives us enough confidence to say this is quite possibly a tornado, or at least something that's rotating. It's been radar indicated, that's the word I'm looking for. It's not been confirmed by any sort of spotter. There's been no indication of, or no trained spotter has actually seen anything make it down to the ground. So let me zoom in here and show you just a little bit tighter look here. So I can pull in and get a couple of roads. This is Central Turnpike. So this is just toward the east of Oxford. So Central Turnpike, Putnam Hill Road, West Sutton Road, Boston Road, heading toward Sutton. These are the areas that are inside that tornado warning again. So this is the red box you see here on your screen as the storm moves off toward the north and to the east. These storms are moving pretty quickly. They're moving around 30 to 40 miles an hour. So it's racing off toward the north, so that's why you can see that box is extended so far. So we pick it up just outside of Oxford. That's Oxford there, and it's going to head up toward the north and to the east. So Northbridge, this is Highway 146 heading up toward Worcester and the Mass Pike. So the Mass Pike, basically where 290 comes down from that interchange, all the way out to where the Mass Pike hits 495. Hopkinton, you're included in that, right along, basically just on the edge of Southborough. You're going to be included in that as well. Granted, this is quite a ways up if the storm holds together. Right now, it is just outside of the Oxford and Webster area, and it's heading up toward the north and to the east. So let me again zoom in, give you a tighter look at some of the roads here. So Highway 146, that's going to be on the edge of your screen. That's probably the next area of concern. So Sutton, Auburn, Highway 146, just to the east of Oxford. If you're in Oxford itself, you're okay. The rotation is past you. So let me grab a drawing tool here, and we can show you. So this would be the area of concern right inside this circle. That's going to be where we're looking at the rotation, the possible tornado, the rotation. The rotation is there. The question mark, when we say it's radar indicated, it means that the radar is showing us that there is rotation here where these yellow, or where the greens and the reds match up. That is spinning, and that would be cause for concern for perhaps a tornado. Does not mean there is one on the ground. It's not been confirmed by law enforcement, not been confirmed by storm spotters. Does not mean we want you to go out and confirm it for us. So if you're in this area, especially Sutton, Millbury, Northbridge, is Highway 122, Highway 146, these areas here, you should be in your safe place. What that means is interior room of your house, lowest level of your house, put as many walls between you and the outside as you can, not windows, just put as many walls between you and what would be the possible rotation as you can. So Oxford, you're technically in the tornado warning, but you're on the edge of it. So the storm is past you, so you're okay there. If you're on 395, you're okay there as well. The concern right now goes from this area just toward the south of Sutton. I'll step off and zoom in here in a second. As the storm heads off toward the north and to the east, toward Sutton, toward Highway 146, toward Millbury, and toward Grafton. If you're in those areas, or Northbridge, you're in the tornado warning. And those are the areas that we are concerned about right now for possible rotation, or not possible rotation, possible tornado. We are seeing the rotation. So let me just double check with the National Weather Service. Yep, it is radar indicated. So again, what that means is it's not been confirmed by a spotter. It's not been confirmed by law enforcement. It does not mean that we are asking you to go out and get confirmation of it. It's just that we are getting enough information from the radar itself to be a little concerned about the storm, that it has the potential, at least, to produce a tornado. And like I said earlier, we've been tracking these for most of the morning, and they've shown us signs of rotation. Nothing, though, has actually been confirmed by law enforcement, and really nothing has been with enough confidence to even say that, you know, this could bring something down. This one is, like I said, the greens are the brightest, the reds are the brightest. So when you see that, that gives us the most concern that, hey, you know what, this actually does have the potential to bring something down. So Sutton, there's 9:05, Grafton 9:15, and 9:30, Westboro. The warning goes until 9:30 itself. So we'll get to the end of the warning by the time we get to Westboro. So these have also been kind of cycling up and cycling down. It doesn't mean that they are staying rotating the entire time. Absolutely could be the case with this one. So everyone in this red box here would be of concern. So Sutton, Grafton, there's Highway 140, that is Highway 122, and that is Highway 146. I think we have JR on the phone if he wants to chime in.
Yeah, good morning, Josh. Good morning, everyone. And we indeed, as Josh has said, we are monitoring this tornado warning in portions of Worcester County as well as Middlesex County. Right now, as Josh has pointed out, it looks like we've got rotation near the community of Sutton. It's going to be a challenging morning because the setup in the atmosphere, it's just in a way that you can get some rotation. These will not be classic tornadoes that, you know, sweep houses off foundations. It's not a Midwest type tornado scenario, but it's got enough rotation inside the thunderstorm that it's possible that we've got, you know, we would be looking at a potential EF0, EF1 type event today. Not that saying we have one now. This is, as Josh noted, this is radar indicated tornado warning. So the radar is seeing inside the storm, and you can see where Josh has zoomed in. The colors around Sutton are green, but up toward Millbury and Grafton, they're red. So it's a rotation. It's somewhat diffuse. It might be a little bit weaker than when we first came on just a few minutes ago, and that's probably what it's going to be like, touch and go here during this tornado warning. This is in for portions of Worcester County as well as Middlesex County until 9:30. But right now we are focused on the communities of Sutton, Millbury, Grafton, and Northbridge. It looks like this rotation is about to cross 146 here in just a minute or two. So if you live in the communities of Sutton, Millbury, and Grafton, that's where we do have the concern for a potential tornado because these little cells here, as they rotate north and east, they've been displaying a little bit of rotation, just enough that this one has been the strongest of the bunch. As Josh has been on Today New England this morning, that we've had other cells, weaker cells, rotating, but not to the threshold that requires a tornado warning. But this one does. This one does have a little more rotation than what we have seen in some of the other ones. So that's why we are extending this weather coverage here this morning for this potential tornado. I'm monitoring NWS chat as well. I do not see anything updated, Josh, over here, anything confirmed. So, again, we still ride with a radar-indicated tornado warning in the community of Sutton, Millbury, Grafton. If you're watching us from the city of Worcester, I'm not concerned about that right now. I think you're okay in Auburn. I think you're okay in Leicester, in Oxford, in Milford. I think you're fine. Hopedale, you're okay as well. But it would be Sutton, Millbury, and Grafton, those communities there, crossing 146 and 122A. And perhaps if this holds together, if this gets extended, then maybe we'd be talking about, crossing the Mass Pike and then heading up into portions of Middlesex County here in about 15, 20 minutes. Josh?
Yeah, so just to, I guess, reiterate everything that you just said, it does appear that the rotation is becoming less tight, so it's more broad circulation, and that's what we've been seeing through much of the morning so far. So we've been seeing these storms show at least signs of rotation, signs that they want to rotate, but nothing has given us enough confidence to say, you know, this at least has the potential to produce a tornado. Again, last check from the Weather Service, this is still indicated by the radar. It's not been confirmed by law enforcement. It's not been seen by a storm spotter. But what we look for is where the greens and the reds match up. So that's just toward the east side of Sutton, and this storm is heading up to the northeast. So it's moving across basically 146 right now. Millbury, 122A. There's 122 toward Grafton. So again, there's the red, there's the green. So it's where they match up. That's where we have the concern right now. So in the warning, Auburn and Oxford, the storm has passed you. That's not a concern. Heading up to the northeast, heading toward the Mass Pike. So up next, as it pulls out of Sutton, Millbury, Grafton, this should say just to the north of Northbridge. So it's these areas right here, 146, 122A, and 122, like I mentioned. And eventually 140, moving up from Upton to Grafton, and then toward the Mass Pike. Those are the areas that are going to be of most concern. So this is a new tornado warning, but it's the same tornado warning that was put out from the National Weather Service. Like I said earlier, the storm is moving very quickly up to the north at about 40 miles an hour. I'll give you a track in a second. So already with confidence, we can shave off the end of that box, and that's kind of what the National Weather Service has just done. So you see the double box here, but really the takeaway is all that's happened is we've pulled this bottom chunk off. There we go. So it just disappeared right now. So this is the new tornado warning. It's the same storm that we've been talking about, which is just toward the east and northeast of Sutton, basically crossing 146 right now. So Sutton, you're okay. You go toward Millbury, 146. That's 122A, that's 122, and then Grafton up there. So if any of those roads sound familiar to you, you should be inside in your safe place, which is interior room of your house, the most walls between you and the outside as you can, lowest level of your house if you can. And again, so here's the newest radar scan, and this is promising. So this tornado warning is still going, but this is kind of what's been happening today. If I'll actually pull this back a few minutes, and you can see when the tornado warning came out, which was just about 9 o'clock, how much brighter everything was and how much closer together the colors were compacted. So this is back toward 9 o'clock. You see the bright greens and you see the bright reds. They're packed together. That's fast wind that way. That's fast wind that way. And that's where we get the rotation. But if I bring this back out live to where we are right now, notice how much more dull the colors are. They're not as tightly packed together. So the tornado warning is still continuing, but at least by the looks of this, the rotation is not becoming quite as compact and quite as compact as it was earlier, which is a good sign. However, the tornado warning still goes. So Millbury, this is just across 146, 122A, Grafton, and eventually up toward the Mass Pike. Like I said, let me get a storm track on this to grab a couple communities. So the tornado warning itself goes until 9:30. If we zoom out, like I said, it's been trucking off toward the north and to the east pretty quickly. So it extends all the way up to Westboro, toward the Northboro area as well. The tornado warning does, because the storm is moving really fast. So Grafton, 9:18, Westboro 9:31. 9:40, and then Marlboro at 9:46. Again, the warning only goes until 9:30. We'll see what the Weather Service does. They, with these storms that have kind of been cycling up and cycling down, perhaps they drop it earlier. They haven't so far, so I'll zoom back in. And again, so here's the newest radar scan. This is why we can't let our guard completely down, because now that red here has become a little bit brighter, with the greens here a little bit brighter. So this is kind of what these storms have been doing all morning, is they tighten up, maybe it starts to look a little bit more threatening, and then they kind of cycle themselves down, and then now it's cycling itself, tightening itself back up again. So this is across 146. Sutton, you're okay now. Highway 146, you're okay right now. Millbury, this is just toward the south and east of you. So the rotation here, right over 122A, heading up to the northeast. So it's heading toward Grafton. Grafton, you should be inside in your safe place right now. Lowest room, most walls between you and the outside. Northbridge and Upton, you're in the tornado warning. You're on the southern end of it, so I'm not really concerned about you right now. The concerning area is this guy right here, where you have the reds and the greens that kind of match up side by side. Take you over to the regular radar. These are typically more of the colors you're probably used to seeing. So this is showing us the torrential rain that we have, and we've had this through much of the day today. And this is part of the problem with these storms. They're going to be hard to actually see and to actually get a visual of. We keep saying it's radar indicated because the radar is showing us that it's spinning. However, the problem is with actually getting a look at this tornado is look at the torrential rain. We've had blinding rains on and off through much of the morning so far. So where that rotation is, which is right about there, you're also in the heaviest rain right now. So actually seeing any sort of confirmation is going to be incredibly challenging right now. So this is why we say the radar is giving us enough concern here to just have you go into your safe place. And it's very possible that, if there is a tornado, that it's not going to be visible to law enforcement, or it's not going to be visible toward trained storm spotters or things like that, because it's just going to be wrapped in torrential rains right now. So let me zoom back in, flip back.
Hey, Josh, can you hear me?
I can.
So there's another cell, too, that I just wanted to point out to everyone. It's up near Marlboro. That also has some weak rotation, so that's another example where, it's a very fluid situation. So even though there's no warning on this one here, if you move the radar farther north out of the polygon, if you look up in the Marlboro area, that actually has a little signal too that also might be trying to do some rotation. So that's an example where we don't have a warned event right now, but that's something that we have to watch because it is they can happen real quick like this, where it's very fluid and developing. And then if you look at the reflectivity, you kind of see that it might be trying to display a little bit of rotation in the community of Marlboro. So no warning for Marlboro, but I just wanted to point that out real quick, that while we have eyes on Grafton and Sutton, farther north up in Marlboro, heading northeast, it looks like on the east side of Hudson, that too will have to be a cell that it's producing some very heavy rain, because this is almost near my house up here in Stowe, and some lightning. So that might be a storm that gets the attention of the Weather Service here in the next 10 minutes. But that's what we have on the way this morning. Off and on downpours. Some of them are going to rotate. Some might be enough to produce a weak tornado. Some might not be producing a tornado. Right now, we don't have any confirmation that even the warning has produced any damage. So thankfully, it's just radar indicated and no confirmation just yet. But I just wanted to put that in there for you, Josh.
Yeah, thank you. So I just moved this up to get Grafton in here. So I know it's right at the bottom of your screen, but I want to show some other roads farther up. So again, like I had mentioned earlier, the rotation is starting to weekend kind of broaden out a little bit. So I just checked the National Weather Service chat. They're going to roll with the tornado warning yet, but basically saying the same thing that we were saying is the signs are promising that it's becoming less tight for rotation. The rotation's becoming a little bit more broad, but regardless, the tornado warning rolls on. So this is where our concern is right now, just to the south of Grafton. If you're in Grafton, you should be in your safe place. Inside, lowest level of your house, most walls between you and the outside. Obviously, stay away from windows, things like that. So this storm is moving up toward the north and to the east. It will move toward the Mass Pike. From there, it will go to Route 30, and then from there, it will go to Route 20 if the rotation holds. All of those locations are included in the tornado warning right now, as is Westboro. So basically, if you are between Grafton and Westboro, Highway Route 130, there's the Mass Pike right there, and then 140 coming down. It's this section that we're concerned about for the rotation right now. Again, like we said, these are kind of cycling up, cycling down, and they're going to be hard to be confirmed by law enforcement. They're going to be difficult for storm spotters to get a look at because we are looking at torrential rain out there right now. So we just have to go with the radar, and what the radar tells us is concerning, which is that the winds are going in a circle, and that's what we know. So the green means the wind is going toward the radar, which is in Taunton. The red means the wind is going away from the radar. So if you follow that, you kind of get the idea of the rotation. And we've seen rotation all morning long in these storms, but sometimes it's really, really broad and it spins really slowly, and it's not a concern. But when it tightens up, that's when it starts to become more concerning. If you think of watching a figure skater, during the Olympics or something, when they put their arms out, they spin a lot slower, and as soon as they tighten up, that's when they start to spin really fast. So that's the concern with tight rotation. While sometimes you get the colors that are together, but it's so stretched out that it's not a concern, then all of a sudden you get these real compact colors that are really close together, and that's when it does become concerning. So back to the tornado warning, just to the southeast of Grafton, this is where we're concerned right now. In the tornado warning, Hopkinton, you're in there, Ashland, you're in there. I'm less concerned about these areas, Highway 135, as a storm moves toward the north and to the east. More concerned about Westboro, Route 20, there's the Mass Pike, this is 140 coming in to Grafton. Let me zoom in and see if we can get a tighter look. Let me grab a couple roads in here where the storm is right now. So this is Old Upton Road. There's the town center of Grafton, Hudson Avenue, North, is that maybe North Street? North Street, there we go. So those are the areas we're concerned about right now, pushing up to the northeast. So if you're on the west side of Grafton, Brighton Hill Road, you're okay. Let's see if I can see that one. Deer Gnome Street, you're okay. Riverland Street, you're okay too. Millbury Street to the west of Grafton, all those areas are fine. The storm is moving northeast, so it's moving up toward Route 30 from Grafton and then eventually toward Westboro. Let me get another track. We'll grab a couple more towns on here and move this guy up toward the north. We'll push it to the end of the box. There we go. So Grafton, basically there right now, like we were saying, and then Westboro at 9:33. The tornado warning is this entire red box here, but obviously if you're on the western edge of that, you're okay. And then if you're on the far eastern edge of that, Hopkinton to Ashland, you're away from the rotation as well. The rotation that we're concerned about at the moment centered basically right over Grafton right now, and then moving up toward Westboro. So anybody in that stretch is where we're concerned for rotation, and these are the areas that we want you to be in your safe place toward the end of the tornado warning. This warning goes until 9:30. Grafton up to Westboro, there's the Mass Pike. Southboro, Route 30, you're just on the edge of that. So if you're Southboro, if you're Ashland, you're technically not in the warning. Marlboro, you're not in the warning, but this is one that we want you to kind of stay tuned, keep us on, because we'll see what happens at 9:30 to see what the Weather Service plans to do with the warning, and if they want to continue it or if they want to roll on if it looks like the rotation is maintaining its strength. I'm just going to take you back to the regular radar to, looks like we got a new severe thunderstorm warning. So that's for, okay, so it's mostly for Narragansett Bay, Bristol County. Your phone may be telling you got a severe thunderstorm warning. It's not the tornado warning. That is for this storm that's coming ashore in Rhode Island. It's going to drift across Narragansett Bay. A lot of thunder, a lot of lightning. We'll keep tabs on this one because, like I said, a lot of the storms this morning have been showing signs that they are rotating. It doesn't mean every single one that rotates gives us a tornado concern, but it is something that, of course, we monitor because you get situations like the one we're in now where the rotation just hits that threshold enough where we get a little bit more concerned for a tornado. And again, it looks like from this radar scan that this is going in a very promising direction. So the warning continues. We just check in with the National Weather Service. Looks like they still have the warning going, so they're not dropping it right now. But like we've been talking about, when you get those reds and those greens that are really compact together, that's where it looks like the rotation is really, really tight, and that's where it gets concerning. See how the green is becoming more spread out here and the red is becoming more spread out there? That's great news in terms of rotation. Now, it doesn't mean you can't get a gusty wind on the front of that, but this is what I was saying before with the figure skater analogy. So when you stretch these out a lot farther, you may be saying, but that's green and that's red, they're still matching up together. Yes. So what we need is we need the little, almost like the ball to form. And that's where we get concerned more about rotation, more about tornado. When they get stretched out like this, that's what I was saying before, where, you know, technically, yes, these are winds heading opposite directions, but they're so broad and they're so spread out that it's not conducive to develop any spin-up tornadoes or things like that. But the other thing that was working against us in a situation like today is the heavy rain. Sometimes we get the radar indication, what would be maybe concerning for a tornado, and then law enforcement can look or storm spotters can look and they can get visual eyes on the storm and say, yes, this has produced something, or no, it has not, and we get a little bit more information that way. The problem with today is we just have a lot of rain ongoing as well. So we get these downpours that develop, and it's, you know, basically clogging up the visuals for anybody to be able to try to actually get eyes on the storm or eyes on any sort of rotation that may be coming down. So you get that here. So there's that red speck that's moving across the Mass Pike right now. I mean, that's blinding rain. And if there was rotation in there, it's going to be very difficult for anybody to get their eyes on it to actually see what's happening. So let's go back to this guy. Well, this is new. So this goes also in line with the torrential rain thing. We had a flood watch out. Now, because the storms have produced inches of rain this morning, we now have a flash flood warning out. This is for most of, basically from where the storm is right now, all the way up to the Merrimack Valley. Those storms have been kind of training over the same areas over and over and over. So you get the heavy rain. But part of the problem with the heavy rain is that getting visual eyes on the storm and the concerning part of the storm is very difficult, JR.
Yeah, it is, and the good news is they just pulled the warning. It's over, so it's lost its rotation, and we're good to go on that cell that we've been tracking here for the last 25 minutes or so. And yeah, nice job, Josh. So it's a tricky morning because it's not a textbook tornado situation. They rarely are in New England. This setup this morning reminds me of something that we had back in the middle of July on a Sunday morning, where the atmosphere was very humid, very tropical, just enough wind energy passing through the thunderstorms to get some of them to rotate, and we did see a tornado that Sunday morning down in southern Worcester County. It was a very weak tornado, but this has just been a radar-indicated tornado warning. No confirmation of damage. That's great news to hear. And the good news on this one is that it looks like it's no longer a concern. I will say, though, that I'm still monitoring the one up near Hudson, Marlboro, Stowe, and Maynard. There's no warning on that cell, but that does also have a little bit of rotation. So the point here is that this is a weather system that is with us for a few more hours, and so we may have to come back into interrupt. There you go, right? Josh is zooming in, the regular programming there, to say that we've got more activity. But I messaged the Weather Service about the Marlboro system. They haven't gotten back to me yet. But that one right there that you see on the screen, that certainly has some broad rotation. Again, it's not focused concentric like a little ball that you would have concern for if it was a green and red ball versus being stretched out like it is on the screen. So it's rotating. It's broad rotation, and that's a cell that we will monitor as well. But I think as of right now, we can kind of just stand back here and get back to regularly scheduled programming and let Mr. Josh Worcester carry on his day. Nice job, Josh.
JR, thank you so much. And I know, Josh, you've been talking about that, tornado threat maybe not being a threat at this point, but we still do have that severe thunderstorm warning right now.
We do. So let me take you back to the regular radar. Again, you see the red box on here. That is expired by the National Weather Service. So it just takes a couple seconds for that to make it to our system and for that to be pulled down. So that's not a concern. A couple other things that we are watching is this is a severe thunderstorm warning. This is for Bristol County. This is for the storm that's rolling out of Rhode Island through Narragansett Bay. A lot of thunder and a lot of lightning. This is really the first time this morning that we've been talking thunder and lightning. A lot of these have just been torrential downpours, but regardless, there's still downpours and they're spinning. It doesn't take thunder or lightning to produce a tornado. It just takes spin. So this is the newer severe thunderstorm watching for Bristol County that we're watching for Bristol County. As this moves through, it's going to be torrential rain, thunder, lightning, and probably some very gusty winds as well, perhaps 40, 50, 60 miles an hour. That would be the potential for the severe thunderstorm warning and also the flash flood warning. We touched on that a little bit ago. I'll toss it back to you. We'll have more updates coming up in a little bit.
All right, Josh, thank you. And of course, we'll stay on top of this, but we'll be right back after a short break.